Hi, I'm Allison, a therapist in Davidson, North Carolina. Today I want to walk you through how to support somebody, a loved one or a friend, who might be struggling from panic attacks. Or if you yourself are somebody who struggles with panic attacks, a couple of tools for how to move through them. So the first thing that I would say is if you're going to support somebody with a panic attack, the best tool you have is yourself. Making sure that you're grounded, that you're calm, that you're in control of your body, so that your worry or fear about the person doesn't exacerbate it. Fear, panic, which can sometimes manifest as really short breath, really accelerated heart rate, sweating, dizziness, feeling a bit lightheaded or faint, it doesn't feel very good. And it can be a bit contagious, and there's a reason for this that's biological and evolutionary. And part of that is that we're sort of social creatures. So imagine if there were a herd of animals, and one animal kind of sensed that something was going on in the bushes, that maybe there was a lion or a tiger about to jump out. And that animal sort of throws its head up and looks, says, "What's going on over there?" All the other animals in the pack might sense this animal throwing its head up and look as well. And it sort of becomes a cascade effect or a domino effect where everyone's kind of on higher alert, seeing what's going on. And our nervous system is a bit like that as well. It's a safety feature. If we sense that somebody is really afraid of something, our body wants to orient and understand, are we safe or are we not? It's looking for safety or danger. And that happens through our vagus nerve and our social engagement system. So all that to say, if you're going to help somebody through a panic attack, you want to make sure that you're in control of your breathing, that you're calm and collected, and that you take a few deep breaths before you try and support somebody with a panic attack. So the next thing that we can think about is focusing on firm pressure versus soft. Sometimes when we see somebody struggling, our inclination is to, softly rub their back perhaps, or to just softly kind of put our hand on them. And I like to think of panic attacks a little bit like contractions from labor. This comes from my work as a labor doula way back when. And if you're a mom and you've experienced labor, you might know that if your partner were softly rubbing your arm during a contraction, you might have wanted to swat them away. And there's a reason for that. Effluent touch, soft touch, sort of runs on the same nerve endings as pain. So there is a way that if we're experiencing a really intense emotion, that soft touch can sometimes exacerbate things. What can feel really good, and maybe some moms who are watching this can remember, is firm counter pressure. It's kind of like when you stub your toe and then you push really, really hard on your toe, and that kind of makes it feel better. So counter pressure can sometimes help. And with panic, when I'm working with a client, often I focus on the wrist or the elbows or the shoulders, or sort of big joints. There are little proprioceptors in your joints that are sending messages up to the brain and letting us know if we're safe and secure. I liken it to if you were going to go on a big roller coaster, you would want that harness really nice and secure up against you. It feels securing and grounding. And that's why there's a lot of research coming out about the use of weighted blankets, and that weight on our nervous system can feel very secure and grounding. So if there's maybe somebody that you're trying to help with a panic attack, it might be helpful to grab wrists with them. Imagine it like going over a mountain. Panic can feel like you're hanging onto the precipice, about to kind of fall off. If someone just grabs your fingertips, it might feel like you're definitely going to go over the mountain. But if they have your wrists kind of like this, or they've got you here with their permission, because for some people this can be a bit triggering, so you want to maybe ask for permission before you try and support somebody in this way. But this can be helpful. It helps you feel like somebody's got you. They're going to pull you up to safety. So sometimes, if it feels helpful, you might grab somebody's wrist or grab even your own wrist and just give that little bit of pressure. And you can do it with the breath. So maybe you're holding tight and you kind of pull in towards yourself on an exhale. So just little squeezes with the breath, right? And that can happen also for the shoulders or for the elbows, just really grounding and anchoring through our major joints. If you're by yourself and you wanted to do this, you could grab your own wrists or even try sitting on your hands, sitting on your wrists, giving a little bit of that sort of pressure there. The next thing we want to think about is, can we reorient to safety? Sometimes when we're panicked, we're not oriented to our environment around us. Panic can serve a purpose. If, say, there's a lion coming right into here, I should probably panic and maybe run. But often panic attacks feel so disarming because they're happening in an objectively safe place. And so we want to try and reorient to safety, and our eyes are a great tool to do that. So one tool that I like to use is to think about walking yourself back into your body. So you could do this for yourself, or perhaps cue somebody else who's struggling with a panic attack to say, what's the farthest thing away that you see in your vision? For me right now, that's a tree. And then walk yourself in. Then I see another tree and another tree and then a big bush. And then I see my window. I see the camera. I see the table. I see my journal. I see myself. And so just labeling and walking yourself in. You can do the same thing with sounds. What's the farthest away sound that you hear? For me right now, it's a garbage truck down the street. And then I might hear my neighbor. I might hear my dog snoring. I hear the hum of the appliances in the background. So just walking yourself back into your body. You can also do that through like a rainbow mindfulness. So sometimes it helps me to just imagine going through the colors of the rainbow in order and identifying something. So pick one thing in the room that you're in that's red, one thing that's orange, and you notice that you kind of have to look around for this. One thing that's yellow, one thing that's green, one thing that's blue, one thing that's purple, one thing that's pink. And by searching for this, it's sort of an I spy, it gets your eyes looking around. And that's a practice of reorienting. We're looking around and reorienting to our environment and letting ourselves know we're safe. Often when somebody's going through panic, we sort of hear people say, just breathe, just breathe. And that can be a bit triggering because if you're panicked, you're probably not breathing that well. And the idea or the command to breathe can feel a bit overwhelming because it's a struggle right now to breathe. So if you're supporting somebody or if you're kind of going through this yourself, perhaps using a more inviting language, like inviting somebody to breathe with you, inviting somebody to notice your breathing, and can you sync your breath up with them? Or inviting yourself to say, let's try breathing in for 3 and out for 4 or 5. Does that feel manageable right now? Meeting your breath where it's at and just noticing your breath without necessarily trying to change it, without having to take a deep breath, can sometimes be helpful too. Just an invitation to notice your breath. What's happening with your breath? What's going on with your breath? Sometimes just noticing it can evoke a bit of a change in the breath and help slow it down a bit. Right, and once we've done some of those tools, the next thing that can be helpful is to move our body or to sense our body. So one tool I like to use is just some mudras in my fingertips, just coming back to sort of a rhythmic pattern in my fingers. So touching my index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger, ring finger, middle finger, index finger. And just kind of coming back to those little tiny movements. And you'll notice that if I skip a finger, it feels a bit off for my brain. Our brain really appreciates ritual and patterning. So say I skip my middle finger, it's going to feel a bit wonky to my brain. So sometimes just establishing a rhythm and committing to that rhythm for a moment can feel very soothing for the nervous system. Right? I think it's really important to remember that for the most part, panic attacks pass. right? It's a really intense moment in time, and it can last a bit of time, but then often there's a moment where it lets up. And it can be a bit like a contraction in labor, where it's building, and we feel afraid of the build, and then it peaks, and then it kind of comes down. And so working on riding that contraction out sometimes can just discharge some of that stress, and being very mindful when it ends and noticing that relief, and then it's over, and then it's past, can be helpful. I hope you found some of these tools helpful. I would love to hear how they work for you, and if you have any other tools that work really well for yourself or for a loved one who might be struggling with panic attacks, please drop a comment and let me know. I would love to hear that. So thank you so much for tuning into this video. Please stay healthy and well, and may all beings be happy and free from suffering, free from the roots of suffering, beginning with us here, tuning into this video now. Thank you.